A Quiet Place Day One is a story about risking your life for pizza and your cat, and I get it. I get it.
Yes, I do, don't I, my little snuggly puff?
There's this concept called the law of diminishing returns. You usually see this applied to sequels in Hollywood. This means that the more sequels something has, the worse and worse those movies are going to get. And if that movie series is in the horror genre, well, let's just say that the law of diminishing returns is multiplied by 1,000. Think Hellraiser, or Friday the 13th, or Final Destination, or A Nightmare on Elm Street, or the Howling. They start strong, but each subsequent movie is just a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a whole lot worse until you have a series that is pretty much unwatchable. Now, there are exceptions. I'll gladly stake my fort on the hill that A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is better than any other movie in that series. And if you have a problem with that, well, I sincerely hope that you die mad about it. But for the most part, the law of diminishing returns does hold true. The movies just go on a little downhill slide once a part 2 starts getting introduced. But there are exceptions. The exceptions that not only maintain a high level of quality, but also go out of their way to introduce new concepts and angles to their premise. These horror series are a joy to watch, and so that brings me to A Quiet Place Day One and what I thought of it. A Quiet Place Day One is a 2024 horror movie starring Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn. In it, we abandon what's left of the Abbott family and journey to New York City on day one of the devastating alien invasion. Oh, so that's why they call it Day One. Here we follow Samira, a terminally ill cancer patient who, on a trip to the city with her hospice group, is caught in the confusion, fun, and mayhem of aliens taking a big ol' honkin' bite out of the Big Apple. In case you're a stranger to this film series, first of all, what are you doing here? Secondly, the big gimmick of A Quiet Place is that these aliens, though fast and ferocious, are completely blind and have to hunt on sound alone. The trouble is, they're really good at hearing things, kind of like your mama. So if you make a noise, you're steak tartare. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. With A Quiet Place Day One being a prequel and a reboot all rolled into one, I wasn't feeling it. The idea of jumping out of the Abbott bandwagon and into the wagon of a complete stranger just wasn't the vibe for me, but I'm happy and relieved to say that I was completely wrong, and A Quiet Place Day One is every bit as captivating, thoughtful, and yes, as scary as the previous two films. I'm eating my words quietly, and they taste good. You see, Day One understands what makes this series work. It's about carnivorous blind aliens second, but it's about the human condition first. It's about the love of a family first. It's about protecting a family first. It's about kindness and reconnecting with your humanity in the face of crushing finality first. Lupita Nyong'o absolutely owns every scene she's in. This is a character who knows that no matter what, she's not getting out of this story alive, whether she's taken by the aliens or by the cancer growing inside of her. And so rather than just evacuation and survival, her motivations are quite different than anyone else around her, and quite unexpectedly different. You see this in a scene where a quiet army of traumatized New York citizens are shuffling to the south as the army has instructed them to do so, but Samira is going against the flow and going north. She doesn't feel like she has any life left, and so she chooses to spend what's left of it getting pizza from a place she loved with what I can only describe as the best and most quietest cat in the world. Listen, if a cat can figure out the rules of horror and stay alive, anyone can. You would sell me out to the aliens in a second, wouldn't you? You'd do it for a can of wet food, wouldn't you? Look at those eyes. There's murder in those eyes. Meow. I'm sure some of you will have a problem with the way that some characters put themselves in danger repeatedly to save a cat, but I can tell you right now, I ain't got time for your kind of negativity in my life, so you can click right off right now. We ain't got no room for you in our happy place. Our happy, quiet place. I can't help but think how much of Nyong'o's performance is crafted from her relationship with Chadwick Boseman and his passing from cancer. Her performance is so raw and it appears so personal that I can't help but make that connection. And if that is the case, what we're seeing here is not only the crisis therapy of Samira, but the theatrical therapy of Lupita Nyong'o. And it's fascinating in a way. Utterly fascinating to see an actor work through their own trauma in this manner. If this is the case, and it is what I suspect, this is an incredibly brave and powerful performance. Joseph Quinn, who you may recognize as Eddie from Stranger Things, is also along for the ride in this movie and joins the film surprisingly late. I mean, for a while, it seems that A Quiet Place Day One was going to be a movie in which Samira quietly entered and then exited the lives of others. But then Quinn comes along playing Eric, a young law student from Kent who's all alone in this strange city with these strange creatures who want to have him for brunch, and the two develop a bond. For Samira, it's reluctantly, but for Eric, it's out of desperation. Samira has been lost and alone, and she's had to rely on others in a life that her own body has betrayed her in. And now she has someone who relies on her and who, in time, she grows to rely on as well. And please don't start thinking, ew, it's a romance. It's not. That would be pedantic and boring. This is a bond that grows from the base of the hierarchy of needs. Eric needs to survive, and Samira becomes his best chance. Samira can't survive, and so she's not concerned, but her bond with Eric helps her find belonging and self-actualization. Not the self-actualization that we see her with, where she's mean and angry, generally unlikable, and just mad at the world, but one in which she accepts her place in her short time in Eric's life and finds her own peace in things as she does so. This movie is layers upon layers upon layers of meaning, not just, oh no, we have to escape these aliens and survive. As I said, to some characters, survival isn't a priority or even a possibility. This movie goes deeper into finding a meaning in a life that is fleeting and failing. It's about finding something to hold on to, memories and the past, as well as those who need you in the present. This is about the purest type of love. That's it. Not romantic love, not sexual love, just love. That's all. The love one has for those who are gone, the love that one develops for those you meet, the love of a city, the love of pizza, and of course, the love of a cat.
Which is the best type of love, isn't it?
Most of all, it's about being kind. Just being kind in even the most horrible of circumstances. A few days ago, I remarked to VHS Jace on our podcast, The VHS Vault, which is a totally rad podcast you should be watching because it's really, really good. I told him how much I missed optimistic science fiction of the 1980s. Movies like Cocoon or Explorers or 2010, The Year We Make Contact. And the more I got to thinking about it, the more I realized that A Quiet Place is optimistic science fiction horror. This is a movie series that believes in the base goodness of people and their ability to rally behind each other and ensure that they all survive, even when some of them know that they don't have a chance. So yeah, buy your ticket. You'll miss the Abbotts, sure, but the movie has enough connection to their story, including Jaimin Hansu's character, who makes an appearance here, and then he goes on to meet the Abbotts in A Quiet Place Part 2, so you really feel their presence even though they're not around. This movie also manages to show the alien invasion on a scale that we haven't seen yet, and so if you're worried that maybe the shock value of these aliens has run its course and the monsters have lost their bite, brother, no. Brother, no. A Quiet Place Day One is scary, yes, but it's also strangely uplifting and tells a story not only of survival but of the incomparable human spirit that even the most downtrodden of us are capable of having. Imagine how much better this world would be if we didn't need an alien invasion as an excuse just not to be dicks to each other. Thanks a bunches to my Patreons, John Borg, James Gibbons, and Bradley Amiel Julian. I would like to give you a moment of silence, but let's face it, that would make for a terrible video. Unless it's an ambiance video that you're looking for. 10 hours of Jason's studio. Listen to his oscillating fan because it's 116 degrees outside in Texas and the sun hates me. Hear his cats beg for food even though they literally just got fed. Listen to his air filter because he has allergies because he has cats. If you would like to become a Patreon, click on the link in the video description below or click on this thing right there that I'm pointing at right now. You should see it. If not, I look kind of silly. YouTube is letting me have links in my videos now because my channel's growing, in no small thanks to all of you. That being said, if you're not a subscriber, why not fix that glaring personality flaw and become one now by pressing that subscribe button and then become an absolute legend by clicking that notification icon so that you can be the first to know when I post new and exciting garbage. Did you know you can become a channel member and get these videos early? Look into that as well because you'd be much cooler if you did. Who am I kidding? If you were kind enough to make it this far into the video, you know what? Comment the words, "I'm cool," and everyone will know how cool you are, especially me. You know, despite this video being about a quiet place, be sure to tell all your friends about me. Hey, did you see this dumpy old guy making YouTube videos about movies and cartoons and travel? Let's watch him ironically. It's hilarious. And a little sad. You know what? We should all tune in tomorrow and next time to find out what Jason watches. Why does he do this with his finger? What's he pointing at? What is he? Oh my God!